So tell me, Steph, whereabouts are you based? And tell me a little bit about yourself first before we dive into your story.
Yeah, so I live in upstate New York near the Adirondacks. I've been here my whole life. Um, I have a husband, I have three kids, I have a dog, very busy, full life. I am, let's see, addicted to coffee. I always like to tell people that it's like a personality trait.
At least it's changed from addicted to alcohol or wine or beer. Now we're going, now it's
Yes,
coffee.
yes,
New
sure.
addiction.
Well, this one's been lifelong, I swear. But yeah, I really started on this coaching journey last year, and then I had my own idea for a podcast grow, and then I didn't do anything with it because I let alcohol back into my life. And then this year, I just had a new form of clarity and kind of took a step into the direction and started with the coaching business that I'm building on the side at the moment. And yeah, I coach my daughter's softball team, and um, I'm a big football fan. So
Oh,
that's a little bit about me.
I actually went to the US back in 2024,
Yeah.
and we didn't get to see a football game. Um, we got close. We got close. We got to an NHL game and the basketball. So we got a couple of codes in while we were over there. But
There you go.
um, Americans, oh my goodness, Americans know, they just know how to be patriotic and they know how to create an environment. There were things going off, there were lights everywhere, and everyone singing the national anthem. It was the most incredible experience ever. Love America, so definitely have to get over there. Have not been to New York, so that is definitely on my bucket list, Steph. So I'm coming for you.
Yeah, perfect. That's awesome. I'm like 4.5 hours north of the city, but my sister lives down near there. So I go a couple times a year to visit down there as well. So
Love it. Well,
yeah,
hopefully we get to meet each other in real life one day
yeah,
soon and
that would
not
be
just be
great.
Zooming friends. Um, so tell me more about where your alcohol-free journey started for you, um, and I suppose the question is, what made you question your relationship with alcohol to begin with?
Yeah, I was definitely raised by parents who weren't super huge drinkers, but one side of my family is definitely heavy into the drinking. So it's something that, like, every family party, every event, all of those things that was just like integrated into what we do, right? It's how we celebrate, it's how we just hang out. And it just is how I grew up. It's how I kept going with it. And then in 2022, and I don't know exactly what that year made me start questioning my relationship with it. I think a lot of it had to do with I had a 1 year old. I was coming out of deep period of grief after losing my brother in law. And I just knew I was leaning into numbing a lot. So I remember I ordered a Quit Lip book on Amazon, and when it came in, I like opened it and hid it in my office and like read it where nobody could see me. Like, it was something to be ashamed of. Like, oh my gosh, nobody can know I'm reading this book. And because if I'm questioning my relationship with alcohol, then obviously something's wrong with me, right? So that was really the start of my journey. And I did, dry Januaries and a couple weeks off here and a month off there. And then that's just kind of how I lived with it for a while, was being sober curious, getting into some communities, reading a book, listening to a podcast, but never really going beyond that first experimental 30 days or less. And then last year, I actually did 75 days without alcohol, and it was the best I had ever felt in my entire life. Well, in my entire adult life that I can remember. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. I had such clarity, I had such energy, and I got back to a point where I was like, I think I'm okay. I can moderate from here. So I just, this special event, I'm like, maybe I'll just occasionally have some. So this special event, and then that one, and then of course they start stacking. So the beginning of this year was where I really decided to make the commitment to just be like, no, I felt really great. I was starting to have a lot of health questions, issues. I don't know what
Mm.
you want to call them. It was like I was having a lot of migraines. I have endometriosis, so my flare ups were getting really bad. And I was just like, alcohol is such an inflammatory substance, and I just keep feeding it to my body. So I was like, it's time. It's time to just
Mm.
let it go. And so, yeah, that's how I got here.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think I started questioning my relationship with alcohol in 2020 and then in 2022, so much the same. Quit for, I had a 100-day experiment and I got to day 88, and for whatever reason, my brain was like, that's enough. We're done with this experiment. And I celebrated with alcohol that night. So fascinating that you go through that whole process and you
Yeah.
don't, like, the lesson has to come back to you again in a different way until it really lands. And so that experiment, then it was probably 18 months where, just like you said, the events just started stacking, and all of a sudden I was right back to how I was drinking. And then in 2022, I woke up with my heart just about beating out of my chest, and I thought, wow, I just can't do this anymore. And I was 45, and I just thought, no, I'm just done. Here I am partying like it's 1999. Um, and I just, yeah, I realized that it was no longer serving me. So I think, we've almost had like that same kind of
Yeah.
parallel experience with it, where you 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 don't really want everyone to know that you're thinking about not drinking.
Yeah. Yep. I
I
actually was having the same waking up with the heart palpitations, like my heart beating out of my chest in the middle of the night. And I just remember one night laying there thinking, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I'm now full of anxiety because I woke up with my heart racing again, and again losing my brother-in-law. So he was only 36. So it was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I putting myself in this position to have such anxiety, especially when I have kids and niece and nephews that, look up to me. And here I am, like, I felt like I was damaging myself, even though I
mm,
don't think I physically was at that point for my heart anyway. It
mm.
felt like, why would I even put myself in that position to consider it? Is it worth it?
Yeah, that's it. Is it worth it? My mum actually passed of multiple myeloma, so it was like a type of bone marrow. Yeah, it wasn't. She actually wasn't a drinker until later in her life. So, and thankfully, that's not hereditary. But I think the one thing that very similar to you was, I just woke up and kind of thought, why am I doing this? And I want to live a really long, healthy, full life. And right now, I am not feeling any of those things. And I just want to
Yeah.
get back under the covers, and I just want to hide from the world until the next day comes when I feel better. And then I just realized that there was just such this passion and this cycle of going round and round in circles with it. And I thought, wow, I'm a coach, and I was coaching at that point. I'm a coach, and I cannot get unstuck. I cannot break free of this cycle. And so, a book the book Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker was the one that got me. I felt like stole my words.
That was the first book I ordered too.
Oh my gosh, there you go. So many parallels between what we've done. Oh
Crazy.
my gosh.
Yep.
I just felt
Yeah.
like she spoke my language. Like I loved she was just dropping the
Sure.
F bombs, and she was just, and I remember one thing actually she said, um, the only people winning from this are the people that are lining their pockets. And I thought, oh, that is so true. Why am I giving them my health, I suppose, and also giving them my money? And that
Yeah.
was a really big seed that was planted for me, was what she said then.
Yeah, absolutely. And with my brother-in-law, he wasn't a drinker, and he had it was ALL. he was diagnosed with leukemia and passed away 6 weeks
Mm.
later.
Oh, wow.
But I think having somebody so young be taken so quickly from something really made me like reevaluate my own health, right? Because it's like
Mm.
until that happens, I think where it's a personal level, you don't really think about yourself that way, like, oh, it's never going to happen to me type of thing. And then somebody you're so close to, it happens to, and you're like, oh, crap. And it just really makes you have a different perspective.
Mm.
So I think that contributed a lot.
Yeah. What was there anything like you said mentioned before that you stopped drinking and then you went back to it, but this time obviously something was different for you. What was that change? What was the mindset shift, or what was the difference between now and then?
Yeah, I think those months after of struggling with leaving it behind, but I was still attached to that other identity that I felt I had with alcohol, the fun party girl who is a good time, who let's go get brunch and pictures of mimosas and drinks before dinner. I think I was so attached to that identity, I wasn't ready to grieve her yet. But then at the beginning of this year, when I was really thinking about it, I was like, that time when I was alcohol free last year, I had so much momentum and I was
Mm.
taking steps towards these goals that I had had my whole entire life. And then when I let alcohol back into my life, it all slowed down. Momentum almost stopped, right? Like I would do stuff here and there, but I never really committed to it again. And I was like, I don't want to one day look back and be like, I never went for everything I want, because I clearly alcohol is holding me back from, I could see it, right? I had a bunch of data on when it wasn't in my life, I made action, I moved forward. And when it was, I didn't. And it wasn't just the coaching side of it, it was my health, it was how I wanted to show up for myself, for my kids. And so this year in January, I didn't actually make any goals. I just, I think the term's wintering. Like I just kind of went inside. I got quiet and I just took some time to just listen to myself and what I needed and what I wanted and what felt good in my body. And that's what came from it, is I was just like, that was the time I felt so good and I was making progress towards my goals and I was just ready. I think that
Mm.
was a big thing, is I felt ready to let go of that part of me,
Yeah,
because
that
I
is
think,
that's a hard piece. I
sorry,
know you do a lot of work on identity, don't you? Like identity
yeah,
coaching. And I know for me too that identity of like who am I without it? I really struggled for a long, long time because I'd been drinking since I was 15. And so to lose what felt like a like it actually felt like a real life person that I was losing, that was difficult.
yeah. And I actually, an Instagram account I followed, I don't remember which one it is now, posted something last year that talked about it's okay to grieve her. And that's when I first attached the term grief to that identity, was that's why it's so hard, because it was like, who am I without this, right? Who am I when I go to a wedding or a Sunday brunch if I don't have it? And starting to show up for myself in that manner and not have alcohol there and prove to myself like, I'm still me, I'm still her, I'm still fun, I'm more energetic, I'm more vibrant in my opinion. And I'm like, I'm not really losing anything, but it felt like it.
It's that messy middle between those two identities of like who you were, who you once were, who you want to identify with being, and then there's this
Yeah.
this version of you now who's learning to walk again without
Yeah.
without having this comforter with you. It does feel messy, and I know for me it felt I actually did feel alone because a lot of my friends were still drinking. I had to, change out my friend groups. My husband was still drinking. So there were just lots of signs that I could have just said, you know what, nah, don't worry about it. Like, screw my health. Screw it. I'm just going to go back drinking again because that's where the comfort is. But I know as a coach, and this is where we coach other people, is we have to stay in that discomfort zone for a little bit longer because it will pass, and eventually you will look back and you'll be like, wow, I am so proud of myself for doing that, for staying in the discomfort when everyone else was trying to like almost pull me back, and I stayed and I grieved and I did the work. And now on the other side, yeah, life is just so much more freer than it was before.
Yeah, and at first it was really hard to be in social situations with, I still have a lot of people in my life who drink too. My husband, a lot of my friends still do. And at first it was really hard to be in that social setting. I struggled with it, but I worked through it. And now I almost look at it as, I'm not going to wake up hungover tomorrow, and I know how bad you guys are going to feel. And like thinking about how good I'm going to feel the next day instead of, oh man, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be hungover and I'm going to be exhausted. That actually helps me through it. Is them drinking actually helps me not drink, because I'm like, oh man, you are going to feel so terrible tomorrow morning and I'm going to feel great. So I think proving to myself I can get through some of those situations and knowing on the other side how bad I'm going to feel if I did decide to drink. And I don't tell myself I can't. I don't tell myself, oh, I can't drink, because I feel like doing that actually has the reverse effect on me. So I think keeping the option open and then choosing not to is way more empowering for me.
Yeah, there's a sovereignty about it, right? It's like an energy and that frequency of, no, I get to choose this and I'm choosing it and I feel really empowered and I feel really good about the decision versus I can't drink, I'm not allowed to, and that feeling really heavy, like as if someone is taking away your comforter or your dummy or your blankie like you were when you were a child. So no, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I think that's amazing. Has there anything that really surprised you about not drinking this time round?
Um, I don't know if there's anything that's really surprised me other than this time around, because I've done so much work, I've really lost the desire to drink. I feel like last year when I pulled it out of my life, I still had that desire there. I did the same thing you did when I hit that 75 days. Day 76, I was celebrating with alcohol. So I think that what surprised me is in doing all this work, which I don't even really feel like it's work because it's stuff I'm enjoying doing. Um, it's, I don't even want to drink. Like when I see somebody drinking, I don't even want it now. So I think I never envisioned, 2022 Steph never envisioned that I would not even care about it, not even want to drink.
I remember when I first played with the idea about not drinking in 2020, and I said to my coach, something like, I know this is the thing that I have to work on, because I feel like if you were to take it away with me, I would be like devastated. And so I know that was the work to do. And she pretty much said that too. Take away the one thing, and you could even do this with like a relationship. Like if you took away your best friend, or you took away your husband, or you took away your job, take away the one thing that you think makes you you, and then you really get to see where your life is at. And I remember going, ugh, she's right. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because what was left was, I wasn't that satisfied with how life was at that time. Everything was just okay. Everything was mediocre. Everything was, I don't know, it felt like Groundhog Day in some respects, but not a bad Groundhog Day. It just felt like, you're just turning the motions. And then now when I think about being alcohol free, I'm just not even thinking about alcohol. I remember saying, I wonder what non-drinkers think. And then my coach was like, they just don't think about alcohol. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? Oh yeah, of course they don't think about it because they're not completely obsessed with it all the time.
Yeah, I think that is it's crazy how much space thinking about alcohol takes up in your brain when you're drinking. That that's definitely something I didn't realize either until I removed it and don't have the desire anymore. How often I think about it is rarely at all, you know?
Oh, just so much time. What are we going to drink on Friday? Who's going to go pick up the box of beer? Oh, are you going to get it? Am I going to get it? Oh, what are we going to drink on Sunday? Oh, don't forget, we've just so much time spent planning life around alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. And so, how do you think alcohol free has impacted your life? Not just maybe just health, but are there any other areas where you feel it's helped you to, I don't know, to better, I suppose, for want of a better word?
Yeah, I think it's definitely made me feel like a more present person overall, you know, with my family, with my kids. I just feel much more engaged with everybody when I'm with them and in their presence, and I really love how calm I think I feel so much of the time. Like my anxiety is lowered. Of course, there I feel much better as well. My health is getting better and improving, and my skin, 10 out of 10, love that. But yeah, I think presence and clarity for myself too, like having all that extra brain space gives me more time to think about what I need and prioritize my wants and not have that scheduled around how I'm feeling because I drank the night before. Yeah.
I don't know, for me, it was almost like every second day, it was like a drink, and then I'd recover, and then I'd drink again. And so you were in this constant
Yeah.
repeat cycle of always recovering and then just getting, just almost feeling better and then drinking again. So you were never at your like your highest performance or your peak performance because you were always in that state. And I know I've been watching a lot, of on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot, and there's a lot more entrepreneurs, celebrities that are choosing not to drink now, and all talking about it actually being like a real competitive edge or a performance edge because they get so much more momentum, as you were describing when we first started talking. Yeah, what have you noticed?
Yeah, I agree. And I also think how public people talk about it now without the shame is really refreshing. I feel like it used to be something, oh God, if you talked about that you didn't drink, obviously something's wrong with you, right? You're clearly an alcoholic who went to rock bottom, and that's just so not what it is. And I think one of my favorite celebrities I've heard talk about is Tom Holland, how he did like a dry January and then he just kept going and going and going and never stopped because he just kept feeling better and better. And I also love that there's so many options for NA stuff now, and it's even more accepted like in restaurants, and so it makes it a lot easier, I think, when you're in those social settings to still have that feeling that I think so many of us miss sometimes when we're not drinking, of having the fun drink or however you want to refer to it. But I think it's really great that it's like so many. I feel like the more you see it publicized, the more you're like, oh, okay, I don't have to be ashamed of this thing. I'm not alone. More people feel this way too. And I feel, especially like the way it was portrayed growing up, right? Is it was something to be ashamed of. And if you're questioning your relationship with alcohol, there's definitely an issue with you specifically. And I just love that that norm is shifting in like culturally.
Yeah, I'm of a generation where very much it was all about drinking, and I noticed I've got a 22-year-old daughter, so she's in a different generation, and for them it's completely optional. It's not, it doesn't have as much of a pack as much of a punch for them, and so they don't drink during the week, and they have they're just far, I don't know, they're far more responsible than I was.
Yes,
If I
I
knew what
feel
my, if I was doing what my 22-year-old is doing now, I would be much further ahead. But yeah,
yeah, that is great to think about because I'm a millennial, so I feel like the millennial generation drinking was like something most of us anyway just did all the time. Like it was like very much a part of, at least where I grew up, a part of like everything we did from a young age. And I do love seeing this next generation come up and into that more normalcy of it being an optional thing, and they, so many more of them are choosing not to drink, and I think that's so great, and I'm glad that that's what my kids will have instead of the how I grew up with it.
correct. Yeah, I agree too. And it's interesting because the marketing, marketing's so much more better these days. Than it was, say, 20 or 30 years ago. So for a generation to be coming through where this stuff is getting marketed to them day in, day out, just like it was us, and yet they've got a different mindset around it. I think that's powerful because it's showing us that we are actually evolving, and the marketing's not that impactful for that generation, which is great.
Yeah, well, and they're being marketed the non-alcoholic options too. So I think
Correct.
that's a huge difference as well. They're seeing
Yeah.
that there is another option.
Yeah. So true. Oh my goodness. I know we could talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
I suppose the last question I have then, Steph, is what would you say to your younger self about being alcohol free, or if she was sober curious, what would you say to your younger self?
I think I would want to tell her not to be ashamed of it, that questioning your relationship with alcohol doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, and to be patient with herself and to love herself more instead of the negative talk that's associated with it. Because I think that's a big part of it is when you're questioning it and that you feel the shame around it, you don't talk to yourself very nicely about it. It's like, oh, there's something wrong with me. What's wrong with me? I think I would just tell her there's nothing wrong with you. It's okay to question it, and it's okay to do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. We have so much FOMO around, FOMO and not belonging, that we really do have to talk to those parts of us that feel like they're missing out or feel like they're being, left on the outside, that they're actually not. And I love that we get to reparent them and tell them now that everything is going to be fine. We're going to find, like, if we could take them into a time machine in the future, we're going to find new friends. We're going to
Yeah.
be these alcohol-free advocates. We're going to be the leaders in a space. Like, she'd be going, "Whoa, what are you even talking about?"
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love that for us, and I love that for all the people that may or may not listen to this. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think it's an important message for us to be sharing with the world, too important to be keeping to ourselves. So yeah, thank you so much, Steph, for being here with me, for saying yes to you, saying yes to the podcast. I am dead sure we are going to be talking again in the future. So thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you so much for having me.